April 8, 1994, Friday morning, Seattle, Washington. Gary Smith was a regular 42-year-old electrician. He worked for Vika Electric, and that morning he was assigned to install an alarm system at a luxury home on Lake Washington Boulevard. The work order didn't even have a customer name, just an address, 171 Lake Washington Boulevard East. When Gary arrived there at 8:40 a.m., he didn't know this job would change his life forever. He knocked on the door. No one answered. The work order said, alarm system to be installed in the room above the garage in the backyard. Gary started walking around the house. The yard was neglected. The grass had grown long. Leaves covered everything. He saw a small room above the garage. It had a glass door, but the curtains were closed. Gary climbed the stairs and approached the door. He tried the door. It wasn't locked. He pushed it gently and went inside. For the first 5 seconds, he only saw darkness. Very little light entered the room because the curtains were closed. Then his eyes adjusted to the darkness, and that's when he saw it. There was something on the floor. At first he couldn't tell what it was, a blanket, a bedsheet, but then he smelled it, a sharp, sweet, disgusting smell, the smell of death. Gary took one more step closer, and that's when he saw it. There was a body on the floor. The face was unrecognizable. There was a shotgun on the chest. Gary Smith had been an electrician for 30 years. He had entered thousands of homes, but he had never found a dead body. His stomach turned. He staggered backward. He couldn't breathe. He left the room, ran down the stairs, and took several deep breaths in the yard. His hands were shaking. Then he reached for his phone and called 911. Name? The operator asked. Gary Smith, from Vika Electric. I found a body. Where? 171 Lake Washington Boulevard, in the room above the garage. Please hurry. Gary hung up and waited. 8 minutes later, police arrived. 2 officers. Gary showed them the room. One of the officers went inside, came out 30 seconds later. His face was pale. Did you find an ID? The other officer asked. I pulled it from his wallet. It says Kurt Cobain. When Gary Smith heard that name, he went into shock. Kurt Cobain, Nirvana's lead singer, world-famous musician. Gary didn't listen to Nirvana, but everyone knew that name. Smells Like Teen Spirit was playing everywhere, and now that man was dead. The body Gary found was Kurt Cobain. Police started asking Gary questions. When did he arrive? How did he open the door? What did he see inside? Did he touch anything? Gary answered as best he could. But his mind was still in that room. That image wouldn't leave his eyes. The body lying on the floor, the shotgun, the unrecognizable face. But there was something else Gary saw that morning, something he didn't tell the police, because at that moment, he didn't know what it meant. When he first entered the room, he saw a small box next to the body. It was wooden, looked old, and there was something written on it. Gary had approached to read that writing, but then he saw the body and fled the room in panic. He had forgotten to mention that box to the police, or maybe he wanted to forget. Police released Gary. You may need to stay here for a while, they said. We need to take your statement as a witness. Gary waited in his car. Hours passed, more police came. Forensic teams came, an ambulance came. Reporters started arriving. The news had spread. Kurt Cobain found dead. Gary couldn't go to work that day. When he got home, the news was only about Kurt Cobain. Every channel was telling the same thing. Suicide, with a shotgun, at his home in Seattle, found by an electrician. Gary noticed his own name wasn't mentioned. He was referred to as the Electrician. Good, he thought. Let my name not be heard. But Gary's mind was still on that box. What was written on it? Why was that box there? Did the cops see it? The next day he bought a newspaper. The pages were filled with Kurt Cobain. But no one mentioned the box. It said a suicide note was found, with a pen stuck in a planter. But no box. Gary Smith carried that secret for 30 years from 1994 to 2024. He never talked. Journalists called, he declined. Documentary makers made offers, he refused. I'm just the guy who found the body, he would say. I don't know anything else. But in 2024, when Gary Smith was 72 years old, he agreed to speak to a podcast for a show called The Cobain Files. The producer asked him, "Why did you decide to talk after 30 years?" Gary's answer was this: Because I need to talk about that box. I've been thinking about it for 30 years. What was in that box? Did the cops find it? Why was it never mentioned? On the podcast, Gary started telling what he saw that morning, for the first time in detail, entering the room, the smell, the body, and the box. It was a wooden box, Gary said. Small, maybe 8 by 8 inches. Looked old. There was an engraved writing on it. It said Boddah. At the time, I didn't know what that name meant. Later, I learned it was Kurt's childhood imaginary friend. The podcast producer asked, "Was the box open?" No, it was closed, but there was no dust on top, like it had been placed there recently. Did you see what was inside? Gary hesitated. No, when I saw the body, I panicked and left. But I can say this, that box was something Kurt specifically put there. It wasn't random. After the podcast was released, Kurt Cobain fans started researching that box. They examined police reports, they checked evidence lists, and they found this. No official report mentioned that box. In the Seattle Police Department report dated April 8, 1994, the items found at the scene were listed as follows: shotgun, empty heroin syringe, burned cigarettes, lighter, wallet, suicide note, hair clip, Courtney Love's driver's license. But no wooden box. Some theorists claim this. The box was deliberately removed from the report by the police because inside it contained evidence proving Kurt had something other than suicide. Maybe a letter, maybe an audio recording, maybe divorce papers he wrote to Courtney Love. Gary Smith told something else on the podcast, something he had never said until that day. When I entered the room, the first thing I saw wasn't the body, he said. On the left wall, there was something written in large letters, like it was spray painted. At first I couldn't tell what it was. Then I saw the body and forgot everything. But now I remember. On the wall it said, "They know." After this statement was published, the media went crazy. Who were they? What did they know? Was this Kurt's last message? Or was it a threat written by someone else? But the police reports didn't mention this writing either. In the 67 photos taken from the scene, that wall wasn't there. Either Gary was remembering wrong, or the wall had been cleaned before those photos were taken. After Gary's podcast interview, another witness came forward, a former technician who worked at the Seattle Medical Examiner's Department in 1994. His name was Michael Torres. He had also retired and was ready to talk. Michael confirmed what Gary told. "I arrived at the scene about 3 hours after Gary," he said. "We had to transport the body to the medical examiner's vehicle. When I entered the room, I saw a box, a wooden, small box. There was an engraved name on it. But before it went into the official report, one of the detectives took the box and said, 'I'll handle this.' I never saw that box again." "Which detective?" he was asked. Michael hesitated. "Detective Terry. His name was Terry." Detective Terry. Full name Antonio Terry. He had worked at the Seattle Police Department for 15 years. And an interesting detail, he was a close friend of Courtney Love. In 1993, Courtney had met Antonio at a party and a friendship had formed between them. This information had never been disclosed to the public. Even more interesting, Detective Antonio Terry was shot and killed 8 months after the Kurt Cobain case in December 1994 during a police operation in Seattle. The official report said, "Died a hero in the line of duty." But some police officers claimed there were inconsistencies about the incident. Terry's gun had not been used during the operation, but a bullet had hit his head. The bullet had come from behind. Gary Smith said one more thing on the podcast, the most striking detail. "After I left the room, I waited 8 minutes until the cops came. During those 8 minutes, I saw someone come out of the house, a woman. She had blonde hair, a pale face. She didn't look at me. She got in her car and sped away. At the time, I didn't know who she was, but years later when I saw her photos, I understood. It was Courtney Love." But according to official reports, Courtney Love was in Los Angeles on the morning of April 8th, not in Seattle. Hotel records showed this. Peninsula Hotel, Beverly Hills. She was in her hotel room at 9:30 a.m. because her lawyer called her at that time. But if the woman Gary saw wasn't Courtney, who was it? A double of Courtney's? Or was Gary remembering wrong because he was in shock? Even 30 years later, Kurt Cobain's death is still filled with unsolved questions. Gary Smith told what he saw that morning, but some things still can't be explained. Where did the wooden box go? What was inside it? Was the "they know" writing real? Was Courtney Love there? Why did Detective Terry take that box, and why did he die 8 months later? Gary Smith is now 72 years old, a retired electrician. He still lives in Seattle, but the images from that morning are still in his mind. "I think about it every day," he says. 30 years have passed, but I can't forget. The moment I entered that room, that smell, that body, and that box. I wish I had told the police, Gary says. I wish I had said, "There's a box there, it says Boddah on it." Maybe something would have changed. Maybe the truth would have come out. But it's too late now. Evidence is missing. Witnesses are dead. Detective Terry is dead. Kristen Pfaff is dead. El Duce is dead. Kurt Cobain is dead. Only questions remain, and Gary Smith's memories. The first 90 seconds. The moment he entered the room. The darkness, the smell, the body, the box, and the writing on the wall. They know. Who knows? What do they know? Maybe we'll never find out. But Gary Smith knows that what he saw that morning wasn't just a suicide scene. It was something else. Something darker. And even 30 years later, the truth is still hidden.